She said, "I'm in love with someone else." I gave a small smile and answered, "Perhaps, but keep in mind, the conclusion never goes to the person who declares it first." Everyone around us burst into laughter, except for her. A short while later, her expression changed, the smile vanishing as though a shadow had passed over her. No one understood what had shifted until the following morning, when a plain envelope showed up at her doorstep. I'm 32 now, and just 3 weeks earlier, I believed my life was moving along smoothly. Emily and I had been a couple for 5 years, sharing an apartment for the last 3. We lived in a pleasant place in the city center, occasionally discussed marriage down the road, the typical path. I won't claim it was flawless, but I thought we were steady. I believed I understood her completely. It all unfolded at my cousin's engagement celebration, one of those outdoor gatherings with fairy lights strung across the yard and plenty of wine flowing. Emily had been sipping steadily throughout the night, her laughter a bit louder than normal, chatting animatedly with people she hardly knew. Around 10 p.m., someone cracked a joke involving loyalty and long-term relationships. I can't recall the precise wording anymore, but that's when she announced it. "I'm in love with someone else." The small circle fell silent. Perhaps 5 or 6 people caught it clearly. My cousin's fiancé let out an awkward chuckle, as if anticipating the punchline. My brother, standing right beside me, stopped with his beer halfway to his mouth. Emily simply remained there, slightly unsteady, gazing at me with an odd, empty look. No remorse, no apology, just blank. I have no idea what prompted my response. Perhaps it was reflex, perhaps pride, but I kept my tone calm and delivered exactly those words I began with. The group exploded in laughter, the awkwardness dissolved, and they all treated it like some private banter between us. My brother gave me a reassuring pat on the back. Someone topped off Emily's glass. But I noticed her face. The smile evaporated instantly, as if a switch had been flipped. She mumbled that she needed fresh air and wandered to the distant corner of the yard, near where the fence bordered the next property. She lingered there nearly half an hour, glued to her phone. When she returned, she claimed exhaustion and asked to head home. The ride back was dead quiet. Not the peaceful silence we'd known countless times, but the heavy kind that presses on your eardrums. When I asked if she was all right, she muttered, "I'm okay, just had too much." She went directly to bed upon arriving, still fully dressed, makeup untouched. I stayed in the living room until close to 3 a.m., replaying the scene endlessly. The confidence in her voice when she said it. I kept convincing myself it was the alcohol talking, that people blurt nonsense when intoxicated, yet deep down I sensed the truth. The next morning I woke around 8. Emily was already awake, seated at the kitchen table with coffee and her laptop open. The moment I entered, she snapped it shut. That confirmed everything. 5 years together, we never concealed devices from one another. "Morning," I said, pouring coffee. "Hey." She avoided my eyes. "About last night, I was wasted." It meant nothing. "You certain?" She finally met my gaze. "Can we skip this for now?" My head's pounding. I didn't press further. I headed for the shower, and when I emerged 20 minutes later, she was gone. No message, no note. Her car was missing from the spot. She didn't return until past 9 that evening, explaining she'd visited her friend Sarah to sort her thoughts. Update 1. The following days felt endless. Emily grew distant, always checking her phone, stepping away when calls came in. She began staying late at the office 3 evenings straight. She's in marketing coordination, and yes, deadlines sometimes extend, but this seemed off. Thursday night, I did something I regret. While she show, I looked through her phone. I know, it's wrong, an invasion, a trust violation. But after her public declaration of loving another, trust had already cracked, hadn't it? Messages with a guy named Daniel. Nothing overtly romantic on the surface, but the familiarity was clear. Shared humor, messages into the early hours, one from 2 nights prior reading. "I can't get you out of my mind either." Sent at 1:47 a.m. I'd been sleeping inches away. I captured screenshots, forwarded them to myself, then erased any trace of my access. When she finished showering, I sat casually on the sofa watching television as though all was normal. Friday morning, I called out sick from work. I required space to process. I reviewed our joint bank account for rent and bills, nothing odd. Then I examined her individual credit card, which she'd once asked me to monitor for her budgeting. She'd visited a upscale spot called Aurora 3 times recently. Fancy Italian cuisine. We discussed trying it for our anniversary, but she claimed it cost too much. She'd also purchased 2 tickets for a show next month, an alternative band I'd never heard of. She'd mentioned going with Sarah. I messaged Sarah, "Hey, quick one. Are you still joining Emily for that show next month?" Sarah replied within minutes. "What show?" She never mentioned anything. Update 2. I brought it up that evening. She arrived home around 8 with takeout, behaving as if nothing was wrong. I sat at the dining table, laptop open to the statements. "We have to talk." She placed the food down carefully. "About Daniel." Her face lost all color. She attempted to deflect, asking what I meant, but I interrupted. "I read the messages. I saw the restaurant bills. I know about the concert tickets." She didn't refute it. That stung more than anything. She stood motionless, as though weighing her options. At last she spoke. "How long have you been monitoring me? How long have you been seeing him behind my back? I haven't been unfaithful. You're in love with him. You announced it yourself." That was drunken rambling. Then explained the 2 a.m. texts, the secret dinners, the concert plans. She sank into a chair, hands covering her face. When she looked up, tears appeared, but they seemed staged. It developed gradually. We connected at a professional event 3 months back. Conversations flowed so effortlessly, something I haven't experienced with you in ages. 3 months. She'd nurtured this while I arranged getaways and browsed rings online. I asked if things had turned physical. She paused, then admitted they'd kissed, once at the event, once 2 weeks earlier during a supposed late shift. I asked if she loved him more. "I'm not sure." That hurt worse than any affirmation. I instructed her to pack some things and stay elsewhere for a while. She protested, saying it was her home too. She contributed to rent. I pointed out my name alone was on the lease. She joined me, not vice versa. Legally, I could insist she leave. She gathered clothes for a week and departed by 10 p.m. I watched her car pull away from the window, and for the first time in days, I drew a full breath. Update 3. The envelope. After Emily left, sleep evaded me. I kept dwelling on Daniel, this man who had pursued someone committed. Finding him was straightforward. Professional profiles, social media. Daniel Hayes, 34, same company as Emily but separate team. Separated once before, 1 child, lots of event photos. Saturday morning, I composed a brief note on plain paper and signed. Ask her about the 5 years she spent living with someone else while messaging you at 2 a.m. I located his address through public records. Early Sunday, around 6 a.m., I slipped the envelope under his door when the building was still quiet. Sunday afternoon, Emily phoned, not texted, actually called. She was sobbing, barely coherent. "What have you done?" "What do you mean?" "Daniel received some anonymous letter. He's furious, asking if I misled him. About us splitting up." "Did you mislead him?" "I told him we were taking time apart." "We were never taking time apart, Emily. You were still living here 3 days ago." She erupted, accusing me of manipulation, insisting I had no business meddling in her personal life. I listened until her anger faded. Then I replied, "You embarrassed me publicly at the family event. You deceived me for months. You expect me to let it slide without consequence." She ended the call abruptly. Update 4. Daniel ended things with her Monday morning. I learned this because Emily appeared at the apartment around noon, letting herself in with her key. I was on a work video call from home, and suddenly she was in the living room, eyes swollen, exhausted. I muted myself, asked her to wait in the kitchen, and wrapped up the meeting 15 minutes later. She sat at the table, staring blankly. "He won't speak to me," she whispered. "He blocked me." That's what occurs when someone discovers the lies. I didn't lie. You told him we were separated. We shared a home, a bed. I was planning to propose in November. She looked up sharply. "Propose? For our anniversary?" I had the ring. Real tears came then. She said she never intended harm, that the new connection swept her away, that she cared for me, but the spark had faded. I told her she had until months end to collect her belongings. The lease renewed in 6 weeks, and her name wouldn't be on it. She could arrange her own housing. She left an hour later, taking only her laptop and a few items from the closet. I had the locks replaced that same afternoon. Final update. 5 weeks have passed since it all unraveled. Emily stayed with her family briefly before renting a small place on the other side of the city. She sends long apologetic texts every few days, regrets, mistakes, therapy insights. I leave them unread. I've expressed what needed saying. Daniel, her colleagues, is seeing someone new already. Emily has been spreading at work that I was possessive, forcing her to seek freedom, which is ironic given the 3 months of evidence I hold. Her friend Sarah contacted me separately, admitting Emily had misled her too about our relationship status. I'm managing. Some days weigh heavier, but I'm exercising more. Joined a cooking workshop I delayed, spending extra time with my brother and his kids. The apartment feels quieter, yet somehow freer. Strangest of all, many have told me I responded with composure. I don't feel composed. I feel drained, deceived, and like I invested 5 years in a future that was quietly being dismantled. But I'm not the one facing the mirror knowing I ruined something valuable because I avoided an honest talk. Edit 1. For those inquiring about the ring, I returned it and recovered most of the cost. Edit 2. No, I don't regret sending the envelope. Play foolish games, collect foolish rewards.